A new performing arts center that would serve as the home for the Cape Cod Symphony and a venue for plays, musical acts, even rock bands could be on its way to downtown Hyannis. Details on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, December 12th, 2013. I'm Sarah Mannel. At a press conference held Thursday morning at Symphony headquarters in Hyannis, Cape Cod Symphony Orchestra Executive Director Jerome Carter comments on how the symphony needs more than the current performance space at Barnstable High School.
As Warren said, I think the high school has and is and will serve us very well, because obviously a project like this will be some years in the planning and getting it done. We are bumping up into scheduling needs. They need the space more, we need the space more, and it just isn't available.
Just where the new Performing Arts Center will be located remains to be seen. The Mid-Cape area has been scoured, and organizers have zeroed in on downtown Hyannis as a desired spot. But as Barnstable Economic Development Coordinator John O'Brien explains, there isn't a pin to place on the map yet.
We, at the beginning, came to the conclusion that we needed to look at available sites in what we consider the Mid-Cape area. And so we basically looked from Mashpee to Dennis, and we anticipated that kind of question would come up. You know, did we really look at this site or that site? This being Cape Cod, you know, there are obviously lots of questions about this project. So we did kind of a thorough search in our minds, but we have now basically concentrated in the town of Barnstable area and primarily the Hyannis area. So there are a number of sites there that are that we're looking at, and that's part of the study to see which site would be economical and feasible and financially available and so forth. So we haven't really come to a conclusion on a site as yet.
Cape Cod Symphony Artistic Director Jung Ho Pak talks about how the idea for a new center came to be.
You know, as the orchestra's grown and strengthened and our audience has become larger and more enthusiastic, the dream of having a beautiful home for not only the symphony but for all the performing arts just seems so tangible and so real. And as we grow and the musicians get a stronger sense of pride, having a beautiful concert hall that can act almost as a sacred place for beautiful things to happen seems like it's now the right time to do that. And as Jerry said, you know, we enjoy being in the Barnstable Performing Arts Center, but we can also perceive something that would be befitting a great orchestra. And I do not see a limit to the potential of this orchestra in terms of quality. There are so many things that are in place that do not act as an obstacle, not our enthusiasm, not our talent. And so having a great concert hall is just planning for that eventuality of having a world-class orchestra.
How regularly do you perform now, and is that likely to change with the availability of your own facility?
John, you can handle that.
Yes, we have grown in terms of the number of concerts over the last few years, in terms of the frequency as well as the number of concerts. And we are limited, indeed, we are limited by the availability of the hall, not only because of the high school scheduling of the theater department and other activities, but I know other groups use the hall too. We don't want to impact the academic schedule of the students any more than we already have. And we respect each other. In fact, this morning, about exactly half an hour ago, I was sitting in the band room listening to the band and complimenting the teacher and working with the students. We will retain that relationship, but in order for us to grow, to reach a much broader demographic of the Cape, we must give more concerts. We must have a bigger footprint, as well as during the summer too.
And while construction of a new state-of-the-art performance center is sure to be costly, Carter says that they will not price the average symphony goer out of the market.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, that's not the way that we should be thinking about it. We should be thinking about maintaining ticket prices at a reasonable level, and that's what they are now. We've hardly raised ticket prices over the years. Over the last 6 or 7 years, just fractionally. The last 2 years, not at all. I think we operate fairly efficiently now, and that would be exactly the same plan. The symphony operates with about 70% of its revenue coming from ticket income, and the rest from donations, foundation support, sponsorship, advertising. That number, 70%, is compared to other orchestras our size, is much higher. Other orchestras our size are at about 40–45%. So that allows us to maintain ticket prices in a reasonable range.
O'Brien says the economy can support such an endeavor, and the consultants hired to begin the feasibility study feel the same way.
But AMS is here to tell us that the region can afford a facility like this, and that the demand is going to come from this segment of the population, that the economy of the Cape, relates to places like this. The one thing about, and Tom can vouch for this, and Wendy, that the idea of arts and culture as part of our economic situation here is really significant, because visitors come from all over the world to come here, and we have a significant arts community now, which is vibrant and dynamic, and with a facility like this, we think that, in our minds at least, and hopefully corroborated by AMS, that this would be fundamentally important to the economic development part of the Cape, providing jobs and a draw for more visitors, and that help with more investment around a building like this. Usually when you have a building like this, more investment peripherally takes place, and so we see that happening too. So.
Ultimately, POC envisions a beautiful new home for the symphony and a place for Cape Codders and visitors to enjoy music of all varieties.
There are some of the greatest concert halls in the world are associated with the greatest orchestras in the world, and that's not a mistake. Mm-hmm. When you build a great concert hall, a great orchestra emerges from that. The Berlin Konzerthaus in Berlin, the Vienna Musikverein. So we're just building toward a great orchestra. We talked about some of the specifics on it, but what a concert hall can do for a community has been proven time and time again, whether it's Lincoln Center in New York and how it changed that neighborhood, whether it's Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles with the beautiful Geary Hall, which is now the toast of all architectural magazines and commercials as well. It changed a very dangerous part of Los Angeles into now a very celebrated part of Los Angeles. We hope that this would also be key to the revitalization, because a great performing arts center gives the sense of quality, of safety, of cosmopolitan investment. Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts deserves this. If you look at the concert halls, the prominent concert halls over the past few centuries, you have concert halls that were built in the 19th century that reflect a 19th century aesthetic, and they're great concert halls. Symphony Hall in Boston, Mechanics Hall in Worcester, concert halls of the 20th century, Ozawa Hall in Tanglewood. But there hasn't yet been a concert hall for the 21st century or a 21st century orchestra. An orchestra that's consumed with being part of the community and that's dedicated to making great art accessible to every single child, man, woman, retiree. And so we envision a concert hall for the 21st century that would be as encompassing and as warm and as inspiring for that philosophy as possible.
The Oceanside Board hopes to have the feasibility study complete by next spring, with a lofty goal of project completion in 2017. For Channel 18, I'm Sarah Mannel.